Hey, it's Rich Tehrani with TMCnet. Thanks for watching. We are here in Silicon Valley for our Editors Day 2016. PK Agarwal is with us. He's with Northeastern University, and welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you, Richard. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So I kind of said something which people could think is contradictory, right? I said Northeastern University, and we're in Silicon Valley. So help us with putting those two together.
Okay, so maybe I should just start with giving a 1 minute's worth of what Northeastern is.
Sure.
It's a very established brand on the East Coast.
Right.
But a lot of people in other parts of the country may not be as familiar. So just to describe Northeastern, if there's a single keyword, that's the essence of Northeastern, is experiential. Everything we do is rooted in the real world experiences. And what this means is that when people graduate out of Northeastern, because of the fact that they have so much industry experience, we have these famous co-op programs with paid work experience while you're studying, they become highly employable. So Northeastern has launched a regional campus here in Silicon Valley to take that core, that essence, that expertise, and bring it to the tech industry, and in the process help bridge the demand-supply gap. And just if I give you one statistic that's kind of maybe startling for a lot of people, according to federal government, at present there are roughly 500,000 people that are needed. It's the demand-supply gap in the tech industry. And give you a local version of that is that we did a survey last year, and there are roughly 14,000 vacancies in the Bay Area alone that require a master's in computer science or higher. And guess what? The total production of masters in computer science of all of the universities combined is only 500. So you can imagine that there's a need for a lot of people, especially
That's 28 years, I think, if no one retires, right? 28
yeah,
years.
exactly.
Wow.
And as a result, a lot of people are coming from outside the state,
right,
and which is driving up the housing prices, the transportation mess. So we need to deal with this issue locally.
Right. Well, if you also think about it from a GDP perspective, our country would do so much better if these companies had the people they need rather than waiting sometimes, maybe a year or two to fill a position. They'd be able to fill them more quickly.
Yeah, it's not just a GDP issue. To me, it's the global competitiveness issue for the United States. And the golden goose of California is Silicon Valley. So I think this issue is not only a business issue, it's a policy issue, it's a evolutionary issue to me.
So it's great. So basically your company is known for, your university is known for the placements. You're famous for students that gain experience while in college, and they typically become more employable because they have experience. That's what we, on the East Coast, that's what we know. Our company's based in Connecticut. That's where I grew up. So that's what I always knew about your organization. It's interesting. I'm so used to interviewing companies. It's rarely that I get to interview someone in a university, so I have to change all my terminology. But you established your campus now to help bring more people into the world of higher education and technology, or even degrees, regular degrees, correct?
That's true.
So what are some of the things you're doing to facilitate getting the word out and to make it easier for people to get the degrees they need?
So we are approaching it in a multifaceted way. One, we are trying to innovate. Being in Silicon Valley, being part of this ecosystem, you absorb what's going on. The cliche around here is that this is where the future is being invented. So as we're inventing this future, we're realizing that if you just look at the last 3 years, probably if there's educationally people need to upskill, cloud computing, big data, data analytics, Internet of Things, that's the next big wave, trillions of dollars in investments coming into this thing. So we are aligning ourselves with the future very nicely, and we are starting to offer programs that allow existing professionals to get skilled in what the future looks like, because the rate of change of knowledge is so high that everything is becoming obsolete so quickly. So that's kind of how we're approaching. And of course, we have the traditional bread and butter stuff. You want a master's in computer science, or you want a master's in project management or engineering management. We offer all that too. But at the same time, we are trying to be very, very innovative and really sort of providing just-in-time knowledge, and in a manner that's more suited for working professionals as opposed to spending full time on a campus.
And you'd mentioned to me some novel way off camera. You were telling me a little bit about with the pricing and how you could get your degree, and how does that work in terms?
So one of the, as example, what I'm sharing with you is that as we are talking to companies, I talked about the demand-supply gap. They're saying, well, there's no pipeline. I mean, how do we, where are these people going to come from? So we have, as example, we have a very innovative program called Computer Science Align. And what this does is that somebody with a non-STEM degree, and if they have a reasonably sort of developed left brain that they can deal with logic and analytics and all those kind of things, then in 3 years, we can give them a master's in computer science. Now, that's a way of sort of bridging the demand-supply gap, where you can bring people locally who maybe even underrepresented groups. But what we do is that the way we're packaging this is not only about just sort of getting your master's in 3 years, but in between we do a 6-month co-op, which is a paid work placement. So in the process, you can make probably half the tuition for these 3 years. And if your employer is subsidizing this a little bit, next thing you know, you have a master's in computer science, very lucrative field. I mean, a perfectly good number is that in 2013, San Mateo County, which is home of Facebook, the average compensation for tech professionals was $291,000 a year.
Wow.
And I mean, this is a demand-supply gap that's driving the prices. So that's an example of us sort of fundamentally not just saying that we are an educational provider, but creating a pipeline of people that are highly employable.
That's really amazing. So you said a little bit earlier that Silicon Valley, the future is invented here, and one of the things that the future is inventing is replacing a lot of the jobs that people have today, whether it's taxi drivers, even Uber drivers, right? Even someone who's taking advantage of this next generation economy is going to be put out of business by the next generation economy. There are machines now that will make hamburgers in fast food restaurants. There are machines that will make pizza. These will eventually be mass produced. So the question is, how does your university, or how do you think as a society we're going to deal with these problems?
Yeah, so I think, Rich, you make a very, very interesting point. And the way we present this issue is simply this, that lifelong learning is no longer an option. It's a survival issue. So part of what we are doing is that for our target audience, which like we're starting with the tech audience, and even just because you're in technology doesn't mean that you're safe.
Right.
You could be a wonderful developer, but next thing you know, artificial intelligence comes along, or machine learning, deep learning. All these things are going to displace every single profession. So, as an example, we are launching a program jointly with Cisco on Internet of Things. And as you know, Internet of Things is the next big wave of technology. Is going to drive $6 trillion worth of investment over the next 5 years. So now if you're an engineer or a computer scientist, you still need a much broader skill to move up this value chain. So we are offering a program that's about roughly 4 or 5 month program. You can do it part-time as professional studies, and you skill yourself for this next generation of machines. But fundamentally, no matter what job you're in, even if you're tech or non-tech, you have to constantly be asking, what does my next job look like?
So it's interesting you're saying this. So what I'm envisioning is, and obviously this is a big societal change. We get out of college, we do our 9 to 5, depending on the kind of company. You do your 9 to 5, you come home, you watch your Kardashians or whatever the typical person does, and that's what they believe life is, right? And what we're saying here is that in this new age, things change so fast that if you don't continuously improve yourself, so that means at least 1 hour less of Kardashians and 1 hour more of learning, that you're going to be out of a job, basically. And so
there's a risk. I mean, not necessarily out of a job.
You're not 100%. You're gonna, right, of course, because it's the irony is that I know some COBOL programmers and they're more demand now than they were ever, which is this. So there are some obviously holes in the theory, but
it's a long tail,
Exactly, but so what we're saying here is almost like we need a cloud-based university model where you pay almost a monthly fee for university access, so that you can get access to the professors and learn a little bit. Yeah, exactly. You can learn a little bit on demand and constantly improve yourself. And so when the next thing comes after IoT, whatever that is, that you start learning about that. And so when your IoT job eventually fades in another, 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is, you're now ready for AI or virtual reality or whatever other things you need to know about. So you constantly have at least some kind of skill, which hopefully is employable.
Well, that's very well said, Rich. I mean, that's exactly it, because the rate of disruption and the rate of change is accelerating, if anything. And the lifespan of knowledge is shrinking, so the need for constant upskilling at every level. And I think in some ways, without introducing too much politics into it, if you look at the red state, blue states, you'll see these kind of gaps, clearly the new economy versus old economy, and is this manifesting itself?
Yeah, it's actually really well said. I mean, we almost could say that new economy versus old economy is what changed the political climate in the country. And the challenge, I think, is that, again, not getting too political, but even if we bring factories back in the numbers that we hope, you're going to need 10 times as many factories as you did 20 or 30 years ago because of automation to equal the same amount of jobs. It just is the reality of the life today. So that means that information technology has got to be something that's embraced by more of the population to be able to fit into this.
Or even the factories. Our view is, and this is well established by a lot of experts, is that the future of factories is going to be very high tech. I mean, that's what the factories look like. So really, a lot of partners, corporate partners we're working with, including GE, we are looking towards a future where a lot of the current factory workers need to be retrained
Sure.
in advanced manufacturing.
Sure.
So that's again an example of at the manufacturing end of the spectrum, you have a lot of people that need to be reskilled. I mean, take a look at it. Just another example would be take a look at somebody who does a currently installation of entertainment systems in your home, working for one of the big telcos or cable companies. Right now, they come to your house, splice the cable, run the cable, plug in the set-top box, and that's sort of the story. But now they're getting calls on saying, my baby monitor, which is Wi-Fi, is not working, and there's something is saying IP stack error, or those kind of words, or like, what do I do with my door alarm, and it's not syncing up with this thing, and so now these people need to get IoT, or networking technologies. So again, example, I mean, you can't imagine any of these big national global companies to be firing 100,000 people, because where would they find to replace these people? So the need for even corporate responsibility to upskill these people to move forward and deal with the newer technologies is good for the company, good for the United States, good all the way across the board.
That's great. Is there anything else we should know?
No, I think we're going to cover pretty much all the bases.
And so how do people find out more?
They can go to our website, which is northeastern.edu/Silicon Valley.
Okay.
All one word, Silicon Valley.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being here, and it's I'm impressed with what you're doing, and hopefully it makes the world, at least the U.S. economy, a better place, and helps a lot of people find jobs in this new economy.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich. Good to be here.